How desperate can a woman be to have a son? This is the story of a woman who traded her womb just to bear a son for the king. She defied nature, challenged the gods, and risked everything to secure a place in the palace and the future of her child. A long time ago, there was a great kingdom called Ifejumu. It was a rich and beautiful land. There were grain farms full of food, busy markets filled with traders, and brave warriors who protected the people. The king of this kingdom was called King Adegbemi. He was strong, wise, and loved by his people. He lived in a large palace with golden walls and carvings of his ancestors. But even though King Adegbemi had everything, he was not happy. He had a big worry in his heart. He had no son to take the throne after him. He had two lovely daughters, Princess Morayo and Princess Semiloluwa, but the elders of the land always reminded him of the tradition. Kabisi, they would say, only a man can be king. If you do not have a son, another family may take your throne when you are gone. The king frowned every time he heard those words. He loved his daughters, but he feared for the future. He did not want another family to rule after him. One evening, the royal priest, Baba Ifayemi, visited the palace. He bowed before the king and said, Kabiyesi, the gods have heard your prayers. They will give you a son. But you must be patient. But the king was tired of waiting. I have waited for many years, he said sadly. Still, I have no son. I will not wait any longer. That night, he called the elders and the chiefs together in the great hall. I have made a decision, he said firmly. I will marry another wife. She must be young, strong and beautiful. She must give me the son I need to protect my throne. The chief looked at one another but said nothing. The king's mind was made up. The next morning, the news spread quickly across the kingdom. The king is looking for another wife. The people whispered in the market. Deep inside the palace, Queen Adeshewa, the first wife, sat quietly in her chamber. She felt heartbroken and betrayed. She whispered a prayer to the gods. Please, protect my daughters and protect our home. And so, the search for the king's new wife began. The news spread like wildfire across the kingdom of Ifejumu. Everywhere people gathered, they whispered the same thing. The king is looking for a new wife. The market women talked as they sold their goods. The farmers discussed it in the field, and the palace guard murmured about it while standing at their post. Who will she be? They asked. Will she give the king the son he wants so badly? In the palace, Queen Adeshewa, the first wife, sat quietly in her chamber. She had been the king's wife for many years. She had stood by his side through good times and bad. She had given him two beautiful daughters and loved him with all her heart. But now, because she could not give him a son, she was about to be replaced. Her heart was heavy with sadness, but she held her head high for her daughters. Far away in a distant village lived a young woman named Fumi. She was the daughter of a wealthy chief and was known everywhere for her beauty. Her skin shone like fresh honey, and her smile lit up any room. But Fumi was not just beautiful, she was also clever. She dreamt of becoming a queen one day, and now her chance had come. One evening, the king's messenger arrived in her village, dressed in royal colors. They came with gifts of fine clothes, beads, and baskets of kola nuts. They told her family that Fumi had been chosen to be the king's second wife. Fumi's heart raced with excitement. I will live in the palace, she whispered to herself. I will be a queen, and I will give the king the son he wants. A few weeks later, The wedding was held in the grand palace. Drummers played, singers sang, and the entire kingdom came to watch the beautiful new queen arrive. King Adegbemi watched her carefully. As she knelt before him and greeted him with respect, he was pleased. But not everyone was happy. Queen Adeshewa stood quietly in the crowd, her daughters by her side. She looked at Funmi and felt a pain in her heart. This is a woman who will take my place, she thought. That night, as the celebration ended, Queen Adeshewa went to her chamber. She held her daughters close and whispered, "We must be strong. This palace will not be the same anymore." And she was right. From that day, the palace no longer felt peaceful. Two queens now lived under one roof, one determined to keep her place and another determined to rise above all. But neither of them knew that the choice they would make would change the future of Ifejumu forever. Not long after Queen Funmi settled into the palace, she became pregnant. The entire kingdom rejoiced. Drummers played their talking drums, and the market women sang and danced. Surely, this must be the prince the king has been waiting for, the people said. King Adegbemi was very happy. He visited Queen Funmi's chamber often and treated her with great care. But deep inside, Queen Funmi was worried. She remembered what her mother told her before she came to the palace. "You must give the king a son. If you fail, you could lose everything." One night, unable to sleep, Queen Funmi placed her hands on her growing belly and whispered, "What if my baby is a girl? Kabiyesi will be disappointed and Olori Adeshewa will laugh at me." The thought scared her. The next morning, she traveled far into the deep forest where the powerful priestess lived. The shrine was small and surrounded by huge trees. The air was filled with smell of burning herbs. The priestess, an old woman with cowries shawl in her head, looked at Queen Funmi and said, "I know why you are here. You are afraid. You want to know if your child is a boy or a girl." "Yes," Queen Funmi whispered. "Please tell me." The priestess cast her sacred cowries on the ground and studied them. Then she looked up slowly. "The child in your womb is a girl," she said. Funmi's heart nearly stopped. Her vision broadened as fear gripped her chest. "No, that cannot be," she cried. "It is what the gods have decided." Queen Funmi grabbed the priestess hand tightly. "Iyalawo, surely there is another way," she pleaded. "The king expects a son. If I give birth to a girl, I will lose everything. A woman's power is in her son. Without a son, I am nothing in the palace." The priestess stared at her for a long moment before signing deeply. "There is a way," she admitted, "but the price is great." Funmi wiped her tears and leaned in. "What must I do?" The fire cracked as the priestess took a bundle of dry leaves and crushed them in her palm. "If you wish to bear a son, you must sacrifice your womb. The gods will transform the child into a boy, but you will never bear any child again." Funmi's breath caught in her throat. Never bear any child. She thought of the king, of the promise, of the crown she had fought so hard for. She had sworn to give him an heir, and she would not fail. Funmi swallowed hard. Her hands trembled, but she nodded. "I will do it. Make my baby a boy." The priestess gave her a wooden cup filled with a thick dark liquid. "Drink this. The gods will do the rest." Funmi took the cup with both hands. She hesitated only for a second before bringing it to her lips. The liquid was bitter, burning her throat as it went down. She coughed, her eyes watering, but she did not stop until the cup was empty. The priestess watched her with solemn eyes. "It is done," the priestess said. "But remember, you cannot cheat destiny forever." Funmi returned to the palace that night. She smiled to herself. believing her problem was solved. Months later, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The king named him Prince Ayomide, meaning my joy has come. The kingdom celebrated for days. The birth of Prince Ayomide brought joy to the entire kingdom. Drums sounded in every corners of Ifejumu, and the people danced for days. At last, they said, "Our king has a son." Queen Fumi was treated with honor. Servants bowed lower when she passed. She felt powerful, certain that her place as the king's most beloved wife was secure. But as Prince Ayomide grew older, things began to change. When he was a baby, everyone adored him. But as the year passed, people noticed that Ayomide was different from other princes. He was gentle and quiet. He did not like to play with wooden sword like the other boys. He never joined the palace warrior in training. Instead, he preferred to sit with his stepsisters, Princess Morayo and Princess Temiluluwa, watching them clean their hair and listening to their stories. At first, people laughed. "Ah, he's still young," they said. "He will grow into a strong prince one day." But as Prince Ayomide grew older, the whispers started. "Why doesn't he act like a prince? He's so soft and shy. How will he lead the kingdom? Can this boy really be our next king?" Even King Adegbemi began to worry. He tried to encourage his son to train with the warriors, but Prince Ayomide refused. He would sit at the edge of the training ground, watching nervously, and then quickly slipped away. One evening, the king sat in the great hall with his trusted chief, Balogun Adetokunbo. "Balogun," the king said in a low voice, "do you think my son is fit to rule one day?" Balogun hesitated before answering. "Kábíyèsí, the people are starting to question him. They do not see the strength of a warrior in Prince Ayomide, but he's still young. Perhaps he will change." Queen Fumi also felt the whisper around her. She remembered the warning of the priestess, "You cannot change destiny forever." Fear gripped her heart. What if the king or the elders discovered the secret about Ayomide's birth? One night, she sat awake, her hands trembling. "I must protect my son," she whispered. "I cannot let anyone take his place." But she did not know that the palace was about to face another surprise, one that would change everything. The palace was tense. Prince Ayomide was still the heir, but whispers about him grew louder every day. People said he was too gentle, too quiet, and not fit to become a warrior king. Queen Fumi felt the weight of every whisper. She feared that the king would one day see her son as weak. Then something unexpected happened. It was the night of a great festival. The palace was alive with music, drumming and dancing. King Adegbemi drank heavily to celebrate the harvest. His laughter filled the air, and the smell of palm wine lingered everywhere. When the celebration ended, the king returned to his chambers, still drunk. He was alone because Queen Fumi had left the feast earlier, complaining of a headache. That night, Queen Adeshewa, the first wife, walked quietly through the palace. She wanted to make sure the servants were caring for the king. When she entered his chamber, she found him sitting alone, looking tired and lost. "Adeshewa," the king whispered softly. He had not spoken her name with warmth in many years. "Kábíyèsí," Queen Adeshewa said gently. "I have treated you unfairly," he said, his voice heavy from wine. "I abandoned you because you could not give me a son." Queen Adeshewa's heart ached. "I have never stopped loving you," she replied. That night, as the moon shone over the palace, the king laid with Queen Adeshewa. It was a moment of weakness, one neither of them expected, but it changed everything. Weeks later, Queen Adeshewa began to feel unwell. At first, she thought it was nothing, but her maid noticed the change and gasped, "My queen, you are carrying a child." Queen Adeshawa could hardly believe it. After many years, she was pregnant. She prayed to the gods every night, thanking them for this miracle. Months passed, and the entire palace buzzed with excitement. Adeshawa is pregnant. The people whispered, "What if she gives the king another son?" The day of labor arrived. The midwife rushed in and out of her chambers while the king waited anxiously. Then a loud cry filled the palace. "It's a boy!" the midwife announced. King Adegbemi's eyes filled with tears as he held the strong elder baby in his hands. "Ifeoluwa," he said softly, "the gods have given us a true gift of love." From that day, the palace changed. People admired Ifeoluwa's boldness. Even as a baby, he kicked his tiny legs and held his father's finger with surprising strength. But Queen Funmi's heart was full of fear. She knew the people already loved Ifeoluwa more than Ayomide. One night, she sat alone in her chambers and whispered, "I will not allow this child to take my son's place. I will do whatever it takes to protect Ayomide's crown." And with that, her heart became darker. Queen Funmi was desperate. Every day, she saw how much the elders and even the king admired little Prince Ifeoluwa's strength. People no longer looked at Ayomide with respect. They only whispered that the younger prince was the true heir. Queen Funmi's heart was filled with fear. One night, she left the palace quietly and returned to the forest shrine of the powerful priestess. She fell on her knees and begged, "Iyalawo, please, you must help me. Ifeoluwa is a threat. He will take my son's place, and I cannot allow that." The priestess shook her head. "Funmi, I warned you before. You cannot change nature forever. The gods do not sleep. What you have done will soon be revealed." Funmi trembled. "No, I cannot lose everything. Please, tell me what to do." But the priestess turned away. "There is nothing more I can do for you. Destiny cannot be changed twice. Prepare yourself for what is coming." Funmi returned to the palace broken and afraid. The next day, she went straight to her mother in her hometown and confessed everything. "Mama," she said in tears, "I changed Ayomide from a girl to a boy. Now everyone doubts him, and Ifeoluwa is loved more. What will I do?" Her mother was shocked. "Funmi," she whispered, "you did what? You defied the gods. Do you know the danger you have brought on yourself and this family?" "Mama," Funmi cried, "I cannot back out now. If the king finds out, I will lose my son and my place in the palace. We will all be disgraced." Before her mother could respond, a loud voice came from behind. "So, it is true." Funmi and her mother turned sharply and saw Baba Adebayo, Funmi's father, standing in the doorway. His face was dark with anger. "You did what?" he shouted. "You played with the gods? You tricked the king and the entire kingdom? This is an abomination." "Baba, please." Funmi tried to explain, but he raised his hand and silenced her. "I will not keep this secret," Baba Adebayo roared. "I will go to the king and tell him everything myself." Funmi's eyes widened in terror. "No, Baba, you can't. If you do, I will tell the king that you lured me into it. I will say it was you who pushed me to visit the priestess. They will believe me." Baba Adebayo gasped. "Funmi, you would lie against your own father?" Tears streamed down Funmi's face. "I would do anything to protect my son," she whispered. Her father looked at her in disbelief. "The gods will never forgive you for this," he said, his voice trembling with anger and sorrow. He stormed out, leaving Funmi shaking and her mother frozen in fear. After Baba Adebayo stormed out in anger, Queen Fumi fell to the ground crying. Her mother, Abike, stood silently, torn between right and wrong. She had just found out her daughter had used dark magic to change her baby girl into a boy. She was shocked, scared, and ashamed. But she was also a mother. She couldn't ignore her daughter's pain. "Please, Mama," she cried, clinging to her. "Don't let them take my son away. I can't lose everything. Ayomide will be destroyed if Ifeoluwa becomes king. Please help me, please." Though her heart was heavy, Iya Abike whispered, "Let us go. There is one more person we can try." Late that night, the two women left the hut in secret and traveled to another village, far away from Ifejumu. In that village lived a strange and powerful herbalist. He was feared and respected, for he dealt with forbidden charm and potions. They arrived at his shrine, and Fumi fell on her knees. "Baba, please help me. My son Ayomide is losing the crown. Another prince has been born. His name is Ifeoluwa. He is strong and loved by all. If we do nothing, he will take the throne." The old herbalist looked at them with deep, wise eyes. "You want to kill the other prince?" he asked calmly. Fumi looked down. Her hands shook. "Yes, Baba." "No," the herbalist said sharply. "You cannot kill him. That boy is a gift from the gods. Ifeoluwa carries the spirit of greatness. If you try to kill him, the gods will strike you and your son down forever." Fumi and her mother looked at each other, afraid. "Please," Iyabike begged, "is there another way?" The herbalist was silent for a long moment. Then he said slowly, "There is one way, but it is dangerous." He leaned forward and whispered, "We can rewrite his destiny. If we make him weak in the mind, an imbecile, he will never be able to rule. He will never sit on the throne. Then your son, Prince Ayomide, will remain the only choice as king." Fumi's eyes widened. "Will it work?" "Yes," the herbalist nodded, "but the charm must be mixed in his food while he is still a child." He handed Fumi a small calabash containing a dark bitter-looking liquid. "Mix this into his meal. Just 3 drops. Do not use more." Fumi took it with trembling hands. "Thank you, Baba. Thank you. May the gods bless you." The two women left the shrine quickly, their hearts pounding, but the gods were watching, and destiny had not finished its story yet. The next morning, Queen Fumi stood in the palace kitchen, her hands shaking as she dropped the final 3 black drops of the herbalist potion into the steaming bowl of yam porridge. Her heart pounded so loudly, she thought it would leap from her chest. She glanced around the palace kitchen. No one in sight. She covered the bowl and placed it on a tray. But as she turned to leave, she did not notice the small figure peeking from behind the curtain. Prince Ayomide. His face was pale, his lips trembled. He had seen it all. His mother, the drops, something deep inside him told him that food is dangerous. Prince Ayomide turned and ran, faster than he had ever run in his life. He burst into his stepsister's room, tears in his eyes. "Mama is putting something in Ifeoluwa's food." The two princesses jumped to their feet. "What are you saying?" one asked. "I saw it. I swear. She poured something black inside his food. I think it's dangerous." Without waiting, the sisters rushed out. They called the guards. "Search the kitchen now. Don't let that food reach Ifeoluwa," they shouted. The palace turned to chaos. Guards barged into the kitchen and seized the tray just before it reached the little prince. The royal priest arrived within minutes. He examined the food and dipped a white cloth into it. The cloth turned black immediately. "It's poisoned," he declared. This food would have damaged the prince's mind. Before anyone could speak further, the sky outside turned dark. A loud chant echoed at the palace gate. People gasped as the Ifa messenger, dressed in white with shock on his face, stepped in, his voice shaking the very ground. "Where is the mother who fights the gods?" he bellowed. "Where is the woman who changed the course of fate?" Queen Fumi, hearing the noise from her chambers, ran out confused, only to find herself face to face with her doom. The Ifa messenger threw the cowries on the palace floor. They scattered, then stopped still. His eyes narrowed. "The gods have spoken." Queen Fumi poisoned the prince's food. She turned her daughter into a son by dark powers. She defied the order of life and has now tried to destroy the true heir. Gasps filled the courtyard. The king stepped forward, trembling. "Fumi, is this true?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. Queen Fumi fell to her knees. "Kábíyèsí, I—" "Silence!" the king growled. "Summon her parents at once." Moments later, her parents stood before the throne, eyes heavy with shame. Before Fumi could think, she cried out, "They made me do it. It was them. My father took me to the priestess. They forced me to poison the child." "What?" her father exploded. "How dare you lie against your own blood? You begged me, Fumi. I tried to stop you," pointing a trembling finger at her. The king turned his gaze to Fumi. "You have cursed this palace with your lies. You nearly murdered an innocent child. You betrayed your crown, your son, and this kingdom." Fumi sobbed. "I did it for Ayomide. I wanted to protect him, but you destroyed him instead." The king said coldly, "Guards, take them away." As they were dragged out of the palace, the sky roared with thunder. Ayomide broke down in tears. "I didn't want this, Kábíyèsí." The king knelt before him, pulling him close. "You are a child of truth, and truth saved your brother's life." That day, Queen Fumi, together with her parents, were banished. Their names were erased from the palace scrolls. Her son remained in the palace, not as heir, but as a boy learning to heal. Prince Ifeoluwa grew in wisdom and strength. He never knew how close he came to destruction, but destiny protected him. Lesson from the story. This story teaches us that no one can fight destiny and win. You can lie, cheat, and even cover your tracks for years, but one day, truth will rise like a sun. Queen Fumi tried to rewrite the will of the gods, but her fear turned into desperation, and her desperation became destruction. She didn't just lose her crown, she lost her dignity, her peace, and the very thing she tried to protect. When we force what is not ours, we only plant pain for tomorrow. A desperate heart can destroy an entire generation if not guided by truth. The protection you seek through lies can become the very weapon that breaks you. Let this story speak to your conscience, because when truth knocks, it doesn't whisper, it thundered. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you're enjoying this story, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Also click the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. Feel free to leave a comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Your support means everything to me. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and keep enjoying great stories from me to you. I love you all. God bless you.